Welcome back to if you've been here before. So I've been gone MIA for a little while because I got laryngitis, so my voice completely left me, but now we are kind of back to normal, so I thought I would resume with our spooky legends and folklore. So today we have one from India, which is an urban legend of Nali Bar. Hope I pronounced that right, forgive me if I butchered it. So as you can see from the picture behind me, there is her name that's actually written across this door, and it's believed that if people write her name across the door of their home, then she will pass over and won't cause them any harm. Nali Bar is said to be an evil entity, once a witch, but now in spirit form, who will come along and just wreak terrible havoc and bring horrible misfortune and bad luck to the families that she chooses to visit, if they don't have her name written above the door. It's believed that if they do have the name written above the door, then what she will do is she will acknowledge it, see it as a sign of respect, and then wipe the name off. And that way, when you come out the following day and you look on your door and you see that the name has been wiped off, you know that she has passed by and she is not going to cause any harm. They say that not only does she bring misfortune and bad luck, but it is believed that if she appears at your door, the threshold to your home, and her name isn't written above the door, then she will call out your name. It is said that she is often known to use nicknames that only close family or friends would use, and some stories say that she actually calls in a voice of one of your loved ones or relatives. And if you answer and you open the door to her, it is said that you will be found dead in a pool of your own blood. Apparently this reached its kind of height in fame in the 90s, when the high school kids would go around telling each other stories of Nali Bar and encounters their grandmothers had had with her, or feared encounters of the past. However, it's been traced back to the 1920s, where there would be stories of this urban legend lurking around in different families and households. It's also said that her origins actually stem back from times of the plague, where it was believed that she would protect certain villages, but she demanded a human sacrifice. So whether you still believe this urban legend, or whether it's just something of somebody's great imagination, or maybe just a well-known hoax, as always, it will be for you to decide. Welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time here. We are back with our folklore, myths and legends, and today I bring you the legend of Spring-Heeled Jack. Some of you may have heard of him. It was a story that was spoken about in Penny Dreadful, the TV series, and it's also a book by Philip Pullman. But Spring-Heeled Jack originated in Victorian times and was actually a legend that was very feared in London at the time. Now, as you can see, this picture behind me, he looks a bit like Batman, but that was only one particular depiction. In other depictions, he looks a lot more diabolical. So this is the aforementioned book. It's also, as you can see, it's a graphic novel by Philip Pullman, and it's a story that's an adaptation of the said legend. So, of course, it will have some dramatic flair and, you know, the author's privilege to say different elements of the story and twist it a bit. But when we talk about the legend itself, he was actually a terrifying creature to the Londoners of the time. As I mentioned, he was said to have a diabolical looking appearance and long claws and eyes that glowed red in the dark. When we see and think about this creature today, we'd probably find it quite camp and very jokey in terms of it being villainous, simply because he was very much depicted as a creature that would leap quite high buildings, as seen here, from rooftop to rooftop, snatching up women and carrying them in his arm or arms, just disappearing then into the night. And in 1867, in the Penny Dreadfuls, is when he was spoken about the most, and apparently had a lot of London up in arms about what they were to do about catching Spring-Heeled Jack. The first account was actually heard of a woman called Mary Stevens, who in October of 1837 spoke about her walking in a dark, gloomy night in Victorian London, where she was suddenly grabbed by these clawed hands of this man and kissed upon her cheek. She described it as cold and corpse-like, clammy and distasteful. She screamed, and some passers-by, of course, were alerted to her screams, and she said that this creature then ran into the night and disappeared. Unfortunately, at the time, she wasn't really believed. People said that apparently Mary was one for hallucinations, and they didn't really take what she said seriously, which she was very disheartened and upset by. However, the very next day, another gentleman was actually taking this horse and carriage, and he was the one steering the horse and carriage, and he said a cloaked figure jumped out in front of the horse and cart, completely scaring him and the horse, which actually resulted in quite a serious injury for the man. Now, maybe because the serious injury was obtained by somebody, or maybe because it was a man that was talking about it, people then started taking these images and encounters by this strange villainous creature a little bit more serious. By 1838 there was yet another case of Spring Hill Jack wreaking havoc, this time in Blackheath, on a barmaid called Polly Adams, who was said to be so terrified that she froze to the spot, not knowing what to do, while she heard this uncanny, cackling, high-pitched laughter that just sent a shiver throughout her whole body. Then, before we knew it, all over different parts of London, people were apparently dying in fright of just seeing this figure in Brixton, and the mayor at the time, this Lord of Peckham, was actually receiving complaints by letter day after day, several a day, saying that he had to do something about this creature that was terrorising the streets of Victorian London. Of course, these were the same times where Jack the Ripper was also wreaking havoc in the Victorian streets of London. Some were saying that it was the same person. As you know, the name Jack was very popular at that time just for describing anybody. Any man would be called Jack. It's like, it wasn't a name that they specifically believed this person had, but it was a term given when they didn't know someone's name. So Jack the Ripper and Spring Hill Jack, people thought were the same person. However, many said that Spring Hill Jack's, although his antics were terrifying people, they were much more trivial than the acts of Jack the Ripper. So that was quickly dismissed. By the time we reached the 19th century, in the late 19th century should I say, Spring Hill Jack was only seen up north. So there was apparently a sighting of him in Liverpool in the late 19th century, where he was seen to be fleeing a mob of people that were trying to basically gather him up and attack him to stop him from doing his terrible deeds, and he was seen leaping from rooftop to rooftop. However, after that sighting, Spring Hill Jack was never seen again. Not up north, not in London, nowhere across England. He just seemed to disappear. Was he a real creature, or was it mass hysteria? But how can mass hysteria go across London to Liverpool to Birmingham, Manchester, all over England? Is it possible? Maybe. Were there jokesters that were just copycatting this story, this legend, thinking it was funny? As always, it's for you to decide. Welcome back to those that have been here before, or welcome if it's your first time. This is a series that I'm doing at the moment, seeing how it goes, all about different folklore, mythology and general spooky things. Today we're looking at the Dybbuk box. Now the Dybbuk box is something that has been taking Hollywood by storm pretty much since about 2011, and it's kind of faded out now, but that doesn't mean that people aren't still selling these like hotcakes on eBay, because they are. Now, many people have said that this has been debunked and that it's nothing but a hoax. However, if we look through mythology, the creature or the demon or evil spirit that has been called the Dybbuk has definitely played a part. Whether you believe in this or not, it is said the Dybbuk is a malcontent spirit that is known to bring a tidal wave of bad luck to anyone who opens the Dybbuk box, anyone who's foolhardy or rebellious enough to do so. Because all Dybbuk boxes do come with a warning that says under no circumstances positively do not open. Now those that have opened Dybbuk boxes in the past have claimed that they have suffered a lot of bad luck and misfortune in their lives. They have said that it's actually an old-fashioned wine cabinet that some date back to the 17th and 18th century. Inside, quite often, there is found some personal items belonging to somebody. Now, this does come from Jewish folklore, and as though, like I say, many say it is a hoax, many do believe that this is something that has occurred and does occur to this day. There's many books that have been written about these supernatural tales, as well as, like I said, Hollywood movies that have been made, one called The Possession in 2012 in particular. Not only has the Dybbuk taken the media and supernatural tales by storm, but it is also something that has delved into more popular culture as well. If we look at Zach Bagans, for example, who, let's be honest, is not exactly of the standing that he used to be when he was at his height of ghost adventures, and I guess he's been discredited because of it. But he was somebody that was quite revered once upon a time, and people did believe that he and his haunted museum held a bona fide Dybbuk box. The famous case, which actually involved Post Malone, was about Post Malone going to Zach Bagans' haunted museum, visiting there, and just touching Zach while Zach touched the Dybbuk box. And what ended up happening is Post Malone was said to have faced some bad luck, including a plane accident. Whether this is a direct result of the Dybbuk box or not, that's for you to decide. At the end of the day, is it an elaborate hoax, or is there something more malicious at play? Here in this image you can see Zach Bagans with his infamous Dybbuk box on display. And it's something that has done the rounds. Many have tried to debunk it, and many have called him out because of his salacious claims. He was meant to open it one Halloween. I remember they were doing like this big kind of show and tell thing on YouTube, and he was meant to open it on Halloween, but apparently he never did, and he got a lot of backlash and stick for it. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, could it be a gimmick? Could it be something that just brings more people into his museum? Probably. But at the end of the day, whether it is something for pure publicity or whether it is in fact an evil malcontent spirit that's waiting to unleash bad luck and grief upon an unsuspecting victim, that's to be seen in the future.